Okay. Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing today? We're going to start off with a prayer. Father, we thank you for all the revelation you've been giving this church. We thank you for our health. We know a lot of people have been struggling this week. Brother Eric just called me and he would like prayers for his father. He's not doing too well, struggling to breathe. So we ask that you bring him healing and bring him comfort. I know it's an awful thing when we can't breathe. I don't know what's going on, if they're coming today or not. I doubt it, judging by his text, but we ask that you give us strength in these weak moments, Lord. That's where you come through. That's where you shine. That's where you glorify your name. And we ask for that for our brothers. We ask that you give me the words to speak. I'm going to be talking about some deep issues today that offend people, Father. And we ask that you give me the words to bring forth the truth so people may understand the reality of the world we're living in. In Jesus Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
Okay. This teaching is going to be called Censorship, Witchcraft, Murders, and 9/11. These are very serious topics in our world today that people don't want anyone talking about. I've decided to talk about these things because I'm noticing on YouTube there is this ridiculous phenomenon going on where they're censoring YouTube channels. And I didn't think it would hit my channel, but I, after a while, realized it was not only talking about demons that was going to bring a lot of heat on the channel, it was my view on 9/11 and my perspective on 9/11. Now, I'm from the New York area. I lived only 20 minutes from those towers that fell down, and I know some people that were hurt in those towers and killed in those towers. I personally worked for the company who had the largest contract cleaning up that wreckage in 9/11. Now, those of you who know my testimony, I was in the wrecking industry for about 12 years, working for different companies. I have extensive experience knocking buildings down. I have extensive experience on construction sites. And I can tell you right now, right off the bat, that my view of the matter is the official story that the government told us in that event was a lie, that it was perpetrated by satanic people that are looking to bring about a world agenda. And I would like to go into the story on that. It goes back to when I was in college. I was in Green Mountain College up in Vermont, and I was looking at the TV and I saw that they had bombed the Trade Center. And at that point, my eyes were not open to the truth of the reality of this world and the evil of this world. So I thought nothing of it. I never looked into it at that time. And me and a couple people at college just sat in our dorm room and we were just goofing around watching the buildings burn. And to be honest, we were so gone at that point, it just made for good television, really. It was just for some exciting news. And we just, as awful as it was and as sick as that sounds, when you're in college and you're living for yourself and it doesn't affect your life, it's just something on TV. But at that point, every summer I would go home from college and I would work for one of my dad's partners. And I would work for his companies, running equipment, digging holes, learning how to do construction work. I was 16, about maybe 17 at the time. And I was learning about the wrecking industry, and I was learning about the excavating industry and how to use heavy equipment. And it turns out, over the years, I became friends with a lot of the supervisors at this company, who I later found out thought that the events around 9/11 were very odd. But still, at that point, I had never really looked into it myself. But years later, I was home on summer break, And I had a good friend come over who me and him were always into bad things together, drugs and different things. And he came over and he started talking about how the Jews controlled the whole world and how evil men control the whole world. And he kept forcing me to look at this stuff on the internet. And most of us may have seen it. It's about like Bohemian Grove and Alex Jones and the Big Owl and pretty much every Christian that ever came to Christianity and has been fiddling on the internet has seen about these things like Skull and Bones, and you start looking at it, it sends you down this rabbit trail of insanity where you have no God, but you have a bunch of demonic stuff that you're just searching all day long. So I fell into that same trap, obviously. And what ended up happening is, while my friend was telling me about these Jews, which I now know to be today the synagogue of Satan, which is spoken of in the Bible, I started to look at these videos about 9/11 and I started to closely examine the events leading up to 9/11. And one thing that I found very odd was there was a video on YouTube where somebody freeze-framed one of the airplanes that penetrated into the South Tower, and the plane was half gone, but there was not even one piece of glass or not one shard of wreckage coming back out of the building. And I was staring at it, and I said to myself, wow, that's really bizarre. That's really weird, because even if they froze the camera right there, we should see all the damage that's coming out of the building right then and there while this plane is halfway vanished into the side of the building. And I looked over to my buddy and he said, well, yeah, it just went straight into the building because the outsides of those big buildings are just glass. And I looked at him and I said, no, the outside of the World Trade Center was some of the heaviest steel ever put up in any building anywhere. The World Trade Center was built with some of the heaviest 1 foot by 1 foot box beams, even bigger than that actually. The steel was about that thick as a tank in every little piece of it, and it was webbing all outside the building. And I found it bizarre that an aluminum airplane, a hollow-shelled airplane, would just slice through that like a hot knife through butter. And I started to think about it, and the more I started to stare at this picture, I felt my heart start to race, like something was wrong with me, like I was getting very, very, like it was like my eyes were opened, and I began to get very scared, because all in 1 second I realized this is fake. This is completely not even possible that this plane went through that building like a hot knife through butter. I knew that aluminum was lighter than iron. I knew that aluminum was softer than iron. There's no way that aluminum cuts iron. Iron cuts through aluminum. So the plane basically is going to splat like a bug. In reality, in actuality, the plane's going to splat like a bug on the side of the building, like every other plane crash that ever hit any other building in the history of the whole world. So what we should have seen was 2 huge planes hitting 2 massive buildings, and then the plane crunches like a bug and falls down. Almost 95% of the plane should have fell down outside the building. Maybe just the heavy engines might have stuck in there, tops, and the wings and the back parts of the plane should have all went blowing out back of the building. So as I'm thinking about this, my whole life is changing, because this was what catapulted me into giving up atheism, basically. Because as I'm watching these things, I'm realizing that there's people in this world that are evil. And as I researched these people, what I began to discover is all these people worship Lucifer. And they all have this sick, perverted problem where they do rituals and they're pedophiles. And I began to realize everybody that's controlling this earth on a high scale is a satanic pedophile. And these people are all involved with different satanic organizations around the world. I've mentioned a couple of the names. There's others. There's like the Mother of Darkness Castle out in Europe. There's all different satanic covens that are set up around the world. One of them is called the Process Church. Many people have spoken about them. But as I was watching these things, and my heart began to race, odd things began to move in my house. Things began to levitate in my house. And I quickly realized that because of my faith, that 9/11 was done by satanic people, I was being hunted by these same satanic people. And this is done through witchcraft on the internet. And it's happening to a lot of people worldwide who wake up to the truth. They begin to look into certain wealthy so-called fake Jews. They begin to look into 9/11. They begin to look into people like David Icke, and all of a sudden now they're paranoid and they're being hunted by invisible beings. And this is because these people insulate their demonic works through rituals, secret rituals, where they are giving demons blood, and anybody that's willing to expose them or speak about this is stricken with fear, stricken with paranoia. Demons and other people turn against them, and it's a big problem. And it's becoming an even bigger problem on YouTube. But nonetheless, when I figured this out, at that point I was so twisted in the head that my first goal was to harness some of this energy that these people were using, to use it to my own ends, because I figured, oh, this is my way out of this sick world where I don't have to play fair and get up and go and struggle with everybody else. I can make money knowing this knowledge. I can contact these spirits. I can have powers. So that's what I began to do. At this point, Jesus Christ didn't come into the picture at this point for me. I didn't call out to God because things didn't get bad enough yet. So what I was doing is I was in my house, and I began to research that most of these people were getting their knowledge from ancient Egypt and occult practices, from the nations that God hated, in the Bible. So what I began to do is I built a pyramid in my house, and I began to chant onto these demons, and they came into the house. And when they came into the house, I got more and more, I would say I was more and more driven to keep doing this because I now saw that it worked. And once you see that this works and you're willing to do it, that's a very dangerous spot that you're in, because now you're basically completely sold out and committed to the idea that you can have power through this knowledge. And that's the most dangerous spot that anybody could be in. And I believe many, many people who control this world live in this state every day. And they walk with these demons every day, and they talk with these demons every day. And they're carrying out the bidding of these demons every day. And the bad news is, we are the target of the attacks of these beings. They are hunting people that know the truth, that don't worship their Lord, Lucifer. Now, as time went on, I kept on doing this, and I got more and more demonized. And what happened is, eventually things got so bad that I realized I was either going to give my life completely to the devil, or I was going to turn from the devil. And at that point, I made the decision to turn from the devil. So that's what I did at that point. When that happened, things got totally worse for my life. And people at my job began to turn their back on me, my family, other people I knew. Odd things kept on happening and got even worse. And at this point, my grandmother had died, and I went to the funeral. And what happened at the funeral is, a couple of my father's friends came to that funeral, and one of my father's friends who owned one of these companies that I worked for, he was at the funeral. And I had greeted him when he walked into the funeral, and I let him know that demons were coming into my house. I don't know why I told him that. I think I was just looking and reaching out for whoever would believe it. And to my surprise, this man was not surprised when I told him this. And he was the first person within an 8-month period of time where I ran into someone that didn't think I was nuts when I told them demons were coming into my house and visiting me every night and even pulling me out of my body. And I remember his response. His response was simply, this. He just said, "Yeah, isn't it cool?" Just like that. And I was more shocked, I think, than anybody. You know what I mean? Because this is someone that I looked at as like a businessman, one of my dad's friends, no big deal, you know, probably just would think I'm nuts. But he just thought it was normal. And I started talking to him about this, and again, he was one of the predominant wrecking contractors in the New York, New Jersey area. He was known as one of the biggest wrecking contractors in the area. And I said to him, I said, "Do you know, I don't think that airplanes knocked the Trade Center down?" And he had another odd response when I said this to him. Like most people would say, "Oh, you're nuts," or, you know, "Why do you think that?" But he almost had like this pre-planned answer for me. He quickly said to me, "Well, then what happened to the people on the planes?" Again, casually. Now, that's not the logical answer of someone that doesn't really understand what happened that day. It wasn't, in my opinion. Because it's my personal opinion that the people on those planes were murdered. And that they were not killed when they hit the Trade Center. They were taken somewhere else. Now, I have no evidence, nobody does, of where they are or where they went. But I can assure you one thing, that no plane hit the Pentagon, no plane hit the ground in Pennsylvania, that fourth plane, and there was no evidence that any plane, no logical evidence, that any planes hit the trade centers in New York City. Now, those planes that we did see go in there, they were not those planes that they said went in there. They were drones, holograms, or the like, or a missile traced by a hologram, or the like. And the evidence of that is simple. The hole in the Pentagon was only 30 feet wide. And the hole, well, basically at the Trade Center, the evidence is that the planes vanished. There was no wreckage. And in Pennsylvania, there also was no wreckage and there was no bodies. And there should have been an entire plane out there crashed with a bunch of dead bodies all over the place. And anyone who wants to look this up for yourself, even if you think I'm not telling the truth, you can look that up for yourself. And not only that, but at the Pentagon, the planes went so far through the buildings, there was a missile hole that came out the other side of the Pentagon. It was about 10 foot wide by 10 foot tall. Looked like a missile went right through the backside. Now, airplanes don't do that, guys. Airplanes don't cut through concrete and metal bunkers like a hot knife through butter. So, I told this man that. I told my dad's partner about all those things. When he asked me what happened to all the people, I told him I believed that they were sacrificed, and he looked even more concerned when he heard that. He was shocked. That actually shocked him. Because when he asked me what happened to the people, I told him I believed they were sacrificed to Lucifer. So the conversation stopped at that point, and then, people were going up to the casket, and everyone was upset, and I was focusing on what was going on with my grandmother's funeral. And before this man left the funeral, he came back up to me, and he told me simply one phrase. He was like, "What did Satan ever do to anybody?" I'm like, dude, this is just getting weirder and weirder and weirder. Why is this guy talking about Satan now? And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "You know I'm a Freemason?" And I was like, no, I didn't know that. And he was like, "Well, what did Satan ever do to anybody?" And then he walked out. And I was thinking to myself, I think I told him at that point, I said, well, nothing. Like, I didn't know what to say. I didn't really understand what was going on at that point. And he walked out, and I had looked into the Freemasons and realized that they're all Luciferians, and I looked into all these other groups and realized they're all Luciferians. And I began to realize that pretty much anybody that's in a position of great power in this world is a Luciferian. And then I look in the Bible and I see where the Bible says that it's Lucifer's job to give out kingdoms on this earth. So I see it in my own life and I see it in the Bible. And now I'm thinking to myself, well, I have to make a decision. So as we know, I chose to serve God, of course. Thank God for that. And that was the best decision of my life. But after choosing to serve God, I realized my life wasn't easy anymore. Ever since I became a Christian, my life has not been easy. I got very, very sick at that point in my life. And I was tormented day and night in my bed. And I struggle with infirmities to this day. My health has never been good since I gave my life to God. And I truly believe that there is a power that's hunting anybody that's willing to take a stand for Christ. And the more of a stand that you're willing to take for Christ, the more you're going to be hunted by Satan. And the more he's going to use other people, and demons are going to be sent into other people to try and destroy your life. And, when you're doing this right, you have few friends in this world. Very few real friends in this world. And it took me a very long time to get the good friends that I have now here in Texas. There was a really dark time. And I want to encourage everybody, if you're going through these same things, to keep pushing through, because it's not going to be easy, and we are going to be attacked on to the very end. Now, another thing I want to talk about is, I want to talk about the agenda of the fake Jews that many people believe caused 9/11. Now, since we got hit in 9/11, we've invaded Afghanistan, Iraq, Pakistan, Syria, Jordan, Turkey, and Libya. For some bizarre reason, we said that Osama bin Laden attacked us in this country, and we went after Saddam Hussein and a whole bunch of other countries. And there are many people on the internet that believe that this is because the fake Jews are using the United States military as their personal police force to bring about a Zionist agenda in the Middle East. And we can see that that's clearly what's been going on ever since we were attacked in 9/11. Not only that, our government enacted what's called a Patriot Act, where they don't need a warrant to look at our emails. They don't need to do anything. They don't need to get permission. They can do whatever they want to us now. And we are in a real bad spot as Christians. Because just me talking about this right now is going to cause problems for my YouTube channel and all this stuff. But you know what? I don't care anymore about this junk. I don't want my children growing up living a lie in this country. Because you know what happens now? You go on YouTube and you type this stuff into YouTube, and what you find is YouTube posts an Encyclopedia Britannica thing. Brother Philip was showing it to me. And I looked into it, and it's there. And they try and tell you their side of the story. You see, the winner makes history in the world. It's always been that way. The history books are written by evil men who won. Because the winner always makes their side look good when they committed all these war crimes and abominable murders and killed children and all different people. You don't hear about those things in the textbooks. This is why we don't send our kids to public school. Because we don't want to send our kids to go learn lies for 15, 20 years, and then when they get to college, if they don't go along with the program, they get straight Fs. If you don't listen to your professor in college, you get an F. So what they tell you, they become your God. And I'm not going to subject my children to it. My kids are going to grow up knowing the truth. And this junk on YouTube is an abomination. What they've done to my channel is an abomination. There was another guy named Alex Jones on YouTube who, obviously, anyone who knows me would think, I think he's way off topic of where he needs to be. But nonetheless, they took years of this guy's work and hard financing, and they just knocked it off YouTube, every single social media platform. Many other YouTube channels who make videos like this, they've knocked off because now Google has bought YouTube, and Google has become God, basically. Because anyone who's sick, they're on Google trying to figure out how to get better. Anyone who wants to know truth, they're on YouTube. Anyone who wants to know about God, they're on YouTube. Anyone that wants to know about wars, the devil, any kind of substantial thing in this world, they're on YouTube. So YouTube made this thing, as I was saying, where anybody who's trying to find this truth gets stopped, and they have a little thing right there. And I actually, I cut it out so I could read it to you guys. It pops up and it says, information panel providing topical context. Note, this feature is currently only available in the United States and South Korea. Users may see information from third parties, including Encyclopedia Britannica, Wikipedia, and others, alongside videos on a small number of well-established historical and scientific topics that have often been subject to misinformation online, like the moon landing. An information panel providing topical context may appear in search results or on the watch page of videos. It will include basic third-party information about a given topic and will link to a third-party partner's website to allow viewers to learn more about the topic. So they're teaching you their way. When they deem something is open to what they call conspiracy theory, they deem what the truth is, and then they force it down your throat and give you the official story. And this is just a sign that within a couple of years, they're going to be just taking those videos down. Because no one's going to look at this little thing they're putting there. And if you go online, you can. I tried to search a couple things online, and I have a list of what I searched. I searched 9/11, chemtrails, moon landing, JFK assassination, the Rothschilds, alien abduction. And on all of these things, it comes up on there. And when it comes up on there, when you guys go home, pull it up and look at it. And there's a thing on the side where you could click and it says, why is this here? And I went on there and I clicked and where it said, why is it there? And that's where I got this text, where they're saying, well, this is here because there's a lot of misinformation and we've decided that on these topics we need to put it there. But what I've noticed is YouTube also has an algorithm. So anybody who goes on the internet talks about demons, 9/11, Satanism, shootings, anything, they are flagged and their channel is flagged, right? And not only that, but you're limited for related searches, like my channel's been stunted completely out of the related search column. When I first started out on YouTube, I'd make a video and it would fire up to 20,000 views. It didn't even need to be a good video. There's some of them, I look at them today and I'm like, this is just pure garbage. I don't know how it got 20,000 views. And I'll put out something that I think could change people's life today, and it's like struggling to get 1,000 views. Because they've flagged channels. And they've flagged my channel on YouTube. And that's clear to me by a long shot. Because you can't be putting out better content, more me, stuff that's getting more people delivered, and the views plummeting unless YouTube is sabotaging you. And I'm just going to keep talking about this stuff because, you know, The thing about it is, when they start taking everything away, we already beat YouTube. Look at us, we're sitting here in a physical church. We already beat YouTube. Let the other people go down in flames on YouTube. It doesn't matter to us anymore. We have real fellowship. That's how you beat the system. You go and preach the truth, and then you have the good people on YouTube send in, and then you invite them out here to come and visit and be delivered. Because that's what YouTube doesn't want happening right now. That's what these people who are patrolling over the internet, make no mistake about it. They know about the demons. They know about Satan. These people that control the world sit with Satan. They sit with demons. And they know how to flag channels like this. And the only reason they don't just take them down completely is because everyone's going to wonder what's going on, who's involved in that takedown. And everyone's going to start talking about it, and it's going to look real weird, and people are going to see what they're doing. That's why with Alex Jones, they had to wait till he got up and started talking about that Sandy Hook. The reason they took Alex Jones down was because they counted him as basically a violent, irrational person who's against the United States and against children who were killed and stuff. Because he got up and said that everything was fake over there. And I don't know anything about that. I haven't researched that or anything. But could you imagine having millions of followers and you wake up one day and you're knocked off Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and all that? That's not our Constitution, people. We have free speech in this country. It's over. It's over. Free speech is technically over. We're supposed to have it, I should say. Now, I'm expecting a lot of problems over here from government agencies, from people that hate us, people that are going to try and say that we should have our children taken away and all things like that. And, like I was saying about the fear when you try and do the right thing for God, if you're not willing to lose your children completely, you ain't going to ever do anything like this. I just hate to break it to people, anyone watching online, if you're not willing to lose your children, sorry, you're controllable. And I know for sure that a lot of these satanic rituals that are going on, even to get a big position on the stock market or in money trading and all that, you have to participate in rituals so they can control you. And you don't get a lot of money unless people could control you in the business world, in the high-end business world. And what they do is they have big parties, and they sacrifice children, and they do demonic things, and they do all this sick stuff. And then everyone that's involved, they know they're one of the boys, because now, hey, we know what he did. We have pictures of this. Sometimes they take pictures and everything. And this is done with presidents, senators, everybody. And fear and intimidation is how Satan controls his network on this earth. And demons need fear to thrive. Demons thrive off of fear. Satan is controlling this whole world through satanic covens, through fear, through demonization. The mass shootings in Vegas are done through this. The mass shootings, even the Son of Sam murders, those famous murders that happened in the 70s, they happened through a church called the Process Church, where they demonized that man, and they sent him out to kill people at random in New York City in the 70s. And at first they thought it was one guy who went nuts, who was hearing voices from a dog, killing everybody. And then years later, after David Berkowitz was in jail, he came out and exposed, no, it wasn't just me. I was part of a satanic cult, and it was multiple people killing people. And that's going on today, like when they find this guy in Las Vegas, and this guy's shooting a gun out the window, and when you watch the video, you could hear multiple shots, like more than one person are shooting. They demonize one fall guy. And that's to make it look not satanic. That's to make it, you need a nutbag to make the whole thing not look like it's organized. Okay? Same thing with the JFK thing and all the other stuff that you could search on there, and they got another little thing. I'm sure the Vegas shooting would pull up another fake news on the internet. But why am I talking about this? I'm talking about this because this is going to be happening. This is going to be happening to us. People are going to be trying to shut this down on the internet. And we just got to keep doing what we're doing, what we know how to do. We got to keep exposing these demons, because it's not easy to have a place where we can openly expose these demons. I was faced with a lot of tests to come to this point where, demons would whisper to me, "You're going to die, and why are you doing this? You're sick, and why would you put your kids at risk? What if someone comes over here and kills one of your kids because they don't agree with you? Or what if, in the beginning they'd be like, what if Satanists come here?" And I knew what it was. But I see other people fall to this in 2 seconds. In 2 seconds, they're like, "No, I'm not risking my health. I'm not risking my kids. I'm not risking my marriage." And they just throw in the towel on the whole thing. And we're not going to go that road. We're going to fight till the very end, because even if they take all this off of YouTube, even if one sinner repents, all the angels in heaven rejoices. You know what I mean? And we could go out into the town and we could minister, and we could go into Dallas and we could minister, and we can build a good church without YouTube. So I'm not even worried about it. But while we have YouTube, YouTube has been a blessing in a lot of ways to this ministry, and I want to thank God for using it in that regard. But there may be a time that we don't go on it anymore. There may be, because if the videos keep getting hindered by the algorithm, I'm going to have to stop with it, Now, other than this, I want to talk about one other thing. I've talked about these satanic covens and the way the devil's controlling people through them. But one thing no one talks about, and there's a guy online who's been around a long time named Russ Dizdar, who talks about satanic ritual abuse people. And from what I've seen, he's a good guy. I have no issue with him. But my one issue with him is he makes it like this is something that is not a problem for the average citizen, but it's just a satanic ritual, hidden, secret thing. Now, in my personal opinion as a deliverance minister, we were all programmed demoniacs through television, pornography, and different things, drugs, narcotics. Our generation is a generation of programmed demoniacs. The average person that comes to Jesus Christ is a mess, is a danger to society until they're set free. Now, the point I'm trying to make is, you don't need to be sitting in somebody's basement under the spell of witches to be a danger to society, because they're using multimedia, TV, and drugs to program the average citizen today. The average citizen can be triggered to kill. The average citizen can be triggered to rape. The average citizen has violent, sexual, perverted lusts in them today. The average citizen is walking around like the average citizen in Sodom and Gomorrah, only they're hiding it. And they do it the second that everyone goes away. They just turn on pornography and they live the life of a pervert in Sodom and Gomorrah. And no one knows about it. That's the only difference. If the people in Sodom and Gomorrah had the pornography that we had today, they wouldn't be running around in the streets raping people. They would be doing it on the internet. There's something on the internet called the dark web, where you could just go in the background, and what these people do is they host these sick events online where people are murdered in violent, sexual, demonic ritual. And it's all secure, and they do it with hackers and everything. And people are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars just for one view of some of these films. People have no idea how sick this stuff is. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because anybody with kids that's in this church, you got to be very, very careful. We cannot trust anyone that comes here. Anyone that comes here cannot be trusted. People are going to be coming in here that are sent by the wicked one. People are going to be coming in here knowing that if they hurt and harm this place, Satan will bless them. And they're going to be dedicated. I know I would be. If I was serving the devil, I would be dedicated. I would come into a place like this. People could infiltrate for a year or 2 or 3 before they really show their true colors over here. They could be trying to come in, break into places. They could be trying to hack things. All different kinds of things. And I want everyone to keep their eyes open. And they will be doing witchcraft. If they are sent to do that, they will be doing that. But we don't need to worry about that. All we need to do is put them out when we catch them. You know what I mean? Because they can't be trusted. There's nothing witchcraft could do. Here's the good news. There's nothing witchcraft could do to anybody if they're walking with Christ. But if you're not walking with Christ, you're open. You're open. If there's a hole in your armor, like the Bible says, you're open to witchcraft. Okay? That's all I have to say about it. We'll go on to do some fellowship and just relax. A lot of people have been sick lately. The weather's been cold and breezy, and we're looking forward to the warm weather. So, Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for the understanding you've given us. We ask for strength to be fearless in the face of the devil. And we love you, Lord. And we ask that you exalt your name in the world and that you finish your work on this earth. We're eagerly awaiting your Son's arrival. We don't want to be down here. We want to be with your Son. But while we're here, we're going to glorify your name, Lord. And we love you in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.